Hey everyone, welcome to Rev Trev NFL. My name is Trevor, and I'm so excited because today I have Acme Army here with me to talk about the big topic. Will the Green Bay Packers win the NFC North? Welcome to the channel, to the show. So great to connect with you. How are you doing tonight?
Oh, Trevor, I'm doing great. This is an honor for me, man, because I love what you do. That intro for your show right now, just it has me fired up right now. And I'm stoked to talk to you about the Green Bay Packers, and I just love to see a graphic where Justin Jefferson's lying on the ground with Chazier standing over.
And it's moving too, so it just has the emphasis, right? Yeah. No, I make all my own graphics, and I love the creative side, and it's just fun to make graphics about my favorite team. But I'm more excited to have you here. I do passionate, realistic, honest content, so maybe that's what comes across in the intro for sure. So
100%.
Yeah, but thanks for the encouragement. So today we're going to be talking actually quite a few different things. Robert Saleh, Jordan Love. We're going to be talking about the defense, but we do want to start tonight with about the Green Bay Packers and the potential of winning the NFC North. And the reason why I wanted to bring you on for this is because I've been noticing this, and I'm sure you've noticed this too, is there's a lot of talk when it comes to winning the NFC North about the Detroit Lions and the Minnesota Vikings, and even some Bears fans who talk delusionally that like they're going to win the North and they're going to win the Super Bowl, but everyone's kind of not talking about us. And it's not that I think that it's like a shoe-in or anything like that, but I just want to push back a little bit that we haven't gone away. So I'd love to hear your take on about our team, what our chances are to win this division. And I always appreciate your takes and your podcasting and all that kind of stuff. So I'd love to hear what your thoughts are, because I kind of just set that up for you.
Well, it's a great question, because right now we're in a division that, when you go through the schedule of all four teams in our division, it's a tough one to say, yeah, the Packers are going to clearly win the division. This is the first time in a really long time that we could potentially have three teams within a game of each other. And I'm talking, 12 or 13 wins. When I go through these schedules, it's one of those ones where it's kind of a coin toss when you're talking about head-to-head matchups in the NFC North. Can you sweep the Detroit Lions? It's a really tough thing to do. Even on our good years, it was a tough thing to do when they had a bad team. Look at the Minnesota Vikings right now. They're losing, thank God, to the Rams 28-20. But as we're recording this, but their team easily, when I look at their schedule, my first run through it is this is a team that could go 13-4. Now with this loss, 12-5 looks like a realistic record for them. That's a really good team they have over in Minnesota. But the Detroit Lions, I think, are the team that the most questions revolve around that team for me, because I don't know if they're good. I don't know if they're great. And I don't know if they're Super Bowl caliber. I mean, they seem to check all the boxes, but then you get into the questions of their personnel right now with Hutchinson being gone. How's that going to impact them? Then you look at Jameson Williams. He's got a suspension again. He's out for 2 games. You got a quarterback over there in Jared Goff who had a game where he was 100% completions. I mean, he's a underrated quarterback. Nobody's talking about Jared Goff enough. So I look at this division and I'm having a hard time saying that we're going to win the division. I just think that we're in the best division in football right now. and it's got some exciting, games that are on our schedule ahead. And the only team in our division right now, and I don't want Andy to get mad from NFL Outdated, but when I go through the Bears, I look at what they've done right now at 4-2, winning against teams that are 1-5 right now, and not knocking them, because I am one of these Packer fans that, I don't like the Bears, but I do like what that team is becoming or could become. And I just don't see them, getting more than 9 wins again this year. I mean, 8-9, 9-8 seems like where they're going to fall, because they have a hell of a stretch starting in, week 11 to week 18, where they're going through the gauntlet on that stretch. So I think where the Vikings and the Lions and us fit, I feel like we really realistically have 3 teams that could be in that 12-5, 13-4 range. And it's just kind of a toss-up. How you feeling?
Yeah, you know what? You're not wrong. And I hate the Bears too. I'm kind of feeling a little bit like I'm just tired of talking about them. They're not that important anymore. But I want to give the Bears a lot of credit, because Andy and I talked about this 3 seasons ago. I said, listen, you can't turn a team around in 1 year, but you can turn a team around in 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And this is year 3. I don't think they surrounded Justin Fields with the talent or the offensive line to be able to compete. And everyone wants to throw Justin Fields under the bus. But at the end of the day, they're talking about how great Caleb is and he's a superstar and all these things. But you've surrounded him with talent. And I like the progression. So you had 3 wins, you went to 7 wins. And I just saw a newest Bears fan that I just met, podcaster. He just posted today that he's predicting, with everything that's going on, 11-6. And I'm like, I just think it's too optimistic. It's big jumps, 7 wins to 11. I understand you have a better quarterback now. I understand, but you still have. I don't like Getsy at all.
Mm-hmm.
No, sorry, not Getsy.
Yep.
Eberflus. Eberflus. I think you should have let him go. Getsy was terrible last year. We know that, but they should have let them both go. And there we are, right? So the Bears are progressing in the right direction. They actually do make me a little nervous. I wouldn't be surprised if they won 1 game against us this year, but I wouldn't be shocked if we sweep them again.
Yep.
So I know that's just the one thing about the Bears, but you're right about Detroit. Like they're like sneaky good. And I feel like a lot of people are going to predict them to go to the Super Bowl this year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they're going to predict them to win the Super Bowl, but to me, what bothers me about the Lions, and I have tons of respect. What you said about them, I'm with you. Here's the thing. Everyone wants to talk to them about them, that they lost only by 3 points to the 49ers, but so did we.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, why aren't you talking about us? We just smoked Detroit in Detroit on Thanksgiving. Then all the whole season kind of plays out. That was a turnaround game for us. We went lights out. We get smoked by the 49ers in the playoffs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, bro, why aren't people talking about us in the same breath as the Lions? It's totally disrespectful to us, which we don't need anyone's approval. Don't get me wrong. But I respect the Lions just like you do. I just think it's weird that nobody's talking about us. We're right there.
That sentiment, I've, being a Packers fan my entire life, we've already gone through these waves so many times where we aren't getting the national press. We're not getting the pundits, praise. And I'm fine with that now. I am completely fine being the underdog. I am 100% fine letting Jordan Love in year 2 right now, with the growth that he's having and some of the interceptions he's having, take on more negative conversation than saying he's the next coming. Because fans like you and I, when we watch a Thursday night, Sunday night, Monday night game and Kansas City's playing, we're looking and watching, the greatest quarterback we've seen I think Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the last 15 years, no doubt. I mean, that's not a knock on Aaron Rodgers, but what he's done from his Super Bowl wins, it's pretty incredible with the team that they've had. When you look at, though, stats that he's had since 2023, the stat came up and I threw it into to stat heads. You look at 33 touchdowns for Mahomes and 50 for Jordan Love since the start of 2023. You're not going to talk about Jordan Love in the same breath as him? You're not going to talk about Jordan Love after you saw that throw to Tucker Kraft last week
Come on.
in any of these Chris Collinsworth-esque, praises that he gave Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers and Pat Mahomes. I think I'm good right now being the underdog and not being overly talked about, because when it's playoff time, we're going to do what we did to Dallas again. You can see what we're doing, the crescendo in this whole orchestra that we're having right now. The pieces are coming together. What did we see last week? We saw the hype of CJ Stroud and the Texans and what they're going to be, and CJ Stroud being the next, great quarterback to come up. What Jordan Love did on that field and what our defense did to CJ Stroud and that team, it feels like we're on this incline right now, and the music's getting louder behind us, and they're going to know when we come up on the screen and it comes out with huge bass, huge treble, and we are screaming all the way down to the to the Super Bowl. So that's how I feel about our team right now, and I'm good being the underdog.
Yeah, want to give a big shout out to my newest subscriber, a Lions fan. Thank you so much for being here and being a part of the conversation, because I love it that other teams come in and want to have the conversation. I actually value conversations, so keep it up. You have a lot to be excited about if you're a Detroit fan. I think this is a great time to be a Detroit fan. But he did ask us this question: do you hate the Bears, or is it the Bears fans? They're not the worst in attitude, but they're delusional every year. They're delusional every year gets old. I think it's, I don't know. I don't like the team at all. So I think it's everything. I just did a video. I don't know if you saw my video. I had Ryan on from Packernet podcast. He's a Pack Daddy on X. Yeah. I had Matt Ramage and JJ Leahy. We did a number one Bears hater. Mm-hmm. Boy, the fireworks was off. It was awesome. We just ranted for over an hour of how much we hated the Bears. But so I don't know. I think it is the fan base, but I just don't like the team. I just never have. Mm-hmm. I don't know. What is there a one or the other, or is it kind of combined for you like me?
Well, first of all, you brought up one of the best people that's doing it right now, and that's Ryan Schlip.
He's amazing,
Pack Daddy, and what he does on his podcast, what he's done this year is, what is it, roasting the enemy? I'm not saying it correctly, but he has taken the Bears fans to task, and just to see how delusional they are, because you're a Detroit fan. This question. Being from Detroit, you don't get what Packer fans get in the Twitters, in the direct messages, if you're on a microphone talking about the Green Bay Packers. So yeah, it's a hate for the fans that are delusional. I have yet to meet a Bears fan that I respect, is what the word is. Just from their knowledge, I'm not getting any of these other Bear podcasters on any of the shows that I do. It's the team, though, that is the most frustrating thing, because talking with outside of Andy, I'm sorry, I don't want to knock Andy. I really enjoy Andy. He knows how to press the Packers fans' buttons in a hilarious way. I think it's the best. Some of the best trolling I've ever been a part of, and people go crazy about it. But it's the ones like that account EJ whatever. He makes the most ridiculous statements about the Green Bay Packers, which factually you just go, this is the counterpoint, and he just runs on emotion, and you're like, this is what you encompass, and what your comments are just feeding these trolls that just don't have the knowledge of a basic NFL fan. But when you look at the team, the frustrating thing about the team is that, as a Packer fan, I grew up with the big rivalry with Chicago. I remember the 63-3 whooping when I was a kid and going, Dad, I'm about ready to cry right now. It's about 6 years old. In what they've done is taken so many steps back from organizational decisions that you just kind of feel bad. The Justin Fields decision, we talked about it, in the offseason about what Justin Fields would do with the weapons they have right now, with the defense they have right now, with a new head coach, like you alluded to earlier, a new offensive coordinator. I don't know if this offensive coordinator is much better than Luke Getsy, but Williams seems to be, getting a better hold on what they're trying to do. He's grown a little bit in the last couple of weeks, but that's what I'd say about the Bears fans and Bears organization.
Yeah, and I know this is a Packers channel, and we're diehard Packers fans, so I don't want to give them too much credit here. But I'm with you though. I am absolutely loving that this is the best division in football, and I'm just looking forward to all these divisional games because they're going to matter so much more than what it's been in the past. And so when you look at these numbers right now, like 3 teams have 5 wins. And I said to Andy the other day, I was trying to bug him on his channel. I said, Andy, let's just take a moment, just breathe it in for a second. I said, you're 2 games above 500. You've got a winning record walking into the bye week. Just breathe it in. Like, this is what it feels like to win. Isn't it great? And this is why I'm actually feel like that for the whole division. It's like, man, it's fun. Like, and I don't know how you felt last year, but for me, watching the Packers was the first year I didn't know how we were going to do. Mm-hmm. In fact, I did predict we were going to go 9-8. Get this, 9-8, and we're going to have a chance at the wild card spot. That was my prediction at the beginning of the year. Okay,
great prediction.
But I felt like when it's always like any prediction you get right, you look like a genius. You just fluked out, right? So I'm sitting there and I'm like, every game it was like I was like this all the time. Like my body was tense. I was so nervous because I'm like, I don't know what we are, who we are. But after watching that, last game was the first time I clinched. And I realized I haven't done that all season.
Yeah.
I love what this team has done and what we look like. And I know, like, I'm not just a biased guy. Like, I predict we lose games, and I don't pick the Packers every week to win. And usually the ones I say we're not going to win, we end up winning, and the vice versa and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just enjoying this ride as like, wow, I don't know if we'll ever see this division this good again. Mm-hmm. Maybe not. Maybe, who knows? A quarterback could get injured, whatever. And maybe that happens even this year. So I feel so much more comfortable. I don't know, confident is the right word, but comfortable and excited than I did last year. Yeah. How do you feel like when you watch the games and stuff?
Well, Aaron Rodgers, that whole era of Aaron Rodgers, the last couple of years were starting to really turn me off just because of, and it wasn't because of what the news is saying about, it was the body language toward young receivers. Yeah. I played youth sports with a kid that just had a really bad attitude, and it just reminded me of that all the time. And I just hated playing with that. And I could see how the players were just like, listen, man, you've been here for 15 years. You're the best quarterback that the Green Bay Packers have ever had. You're the best thrower of the football, probably in NFL history. It's unbelievable what you've done. But the last 2 years, it was a really tough grind. And last year it just felt like a reset that everybody needed, but it was certainly one I needed because I had no expectations. 8-9, 9-8, I was happy with that. If we made a wild card run, depending on, the fragility of our division, all right, I get it. I'm not gonna be mad about it, but I'm also not gonna put in the emotional baggage that I had years prior. Like, hey man, this is our window. We got Aaron for another 3 years. We got to do this now. We got to make these moves. And it never happened. And that was such a letdown. And it was anxiety watching football. Last year was the best year because I had no expectations. All we had was fun. We got to enjoy the growth of a whole team, a wide receiver unit that was so young and so exciting, a defense that you could see loaded with first rounders that might do something, and Jordan Love just growing in front of our eyes into somebody right now that, listen,
Right.
Trev, he is, he's a top 3 quarterback, and people figure that out by the end of the year.
I love it, man. I love it because, and maybe we're a little bit homerish on it, but I
100%.
when I'm watching him, I'm like, to me, he looks like a combination of Rodgers and Favre.
Mhm.
And I don't even know how to explain it other than like, I've seen this before.
Yeah.
But I can't put my finger and my pulse on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm with you. Here's the other guy that I'm all in on. Because like I've got Jordan Love in almost every single one of my fantasy pools. I got him when nobody wanted him and he was struggling. Everyone was dropping him. I picked him up and everything. I put him on my bench. I'm like, I have this feeling he's going to be good. But the other guy that I was wrong about at the draft is Jaden Reed. I think this guy is special and they have a special connection. And that combo, nobody's talking about this combo yet because there's so many. I mean, I think Romeo Doubs is really good. I think Christian Watson's spectacular. I love Wicks. But I have this feeling that they are going to be the two, like Goff and St. Brown, like, anyone and Jefferson, but it was Kirk Cousins and Jefferson. It was, it was Rodgers and Adams. It's like that, but just in a different way. It's like a Wes Welker kind of feel to the position, and he's all over the field and all that kind of stuff. So when I think about Jaden Reed, I'm like, man. So that's the other guy. If I don't have him on a fantasy team, which is rare, I am trying to actively wait till he has a bad week and trade for him.
Yeah.
Because that guy, did you see the numbers from compared to Tyreek Hill in his first amount of snaps and all that kind of stuff?
I have that.
He has better numbers than Tyreek Hill did in his first 85 or whatever it is. Thing, like, it's crazy. I have it, so I might even have it on here. Like, I could show it to you.
Yeah.
I don't think I got rid of it, but it is absolutely wild. Of course, I deleted it. Yep. No, I got it right here. You're gonna like this. This is craziness. So, first 85 career touches. Look at the numbers, and I got to move this banner out of the way so you can see the whole thing.
Wow.
Look at how much better Jaden Reed is. Right? And nobody's talking about this.
Again, small town, northern Wisconsin. Let's just be under the radar. Let's just embrace being under the radar, because at the end of the day, people are going to know who Jaden Reed is. What they're doing with him, Trev, in motion, circling around the running back and the QB and shotgun, that illusion of complexity that Matt LaFleur lost with Aaron Rodgers is back in our offense, and you don't know what's going to happen. You actually see other teams right now taking that from the Packers scheme, and it's the most excited we've been for a receiver since name a receiver that you've been that excited about. I mean, for me, Jordy Love was my attachment and love for a guy, but this guy is completely different. We haven't had a weapon like that. We wanted Amari Rodgers to do that. We saw the Vikings with Percy Harvin back in the day, and you're like, if we could just have a guy like Percy Harvin. We never got it. And everybody did not like Jaden Reed getting, a Michigan State Spartan. What has he done? Well, we're seeing what he's doing right now. He's exciting, man. That's a great stat you just pulled up.
I know. So I'm like all in, and I'm trying not to be weird about it, but it's like, how can you not get excited about this kid right now?
Mm-hmm.
And boy, it's just fun to be now. Talk to me about, like, I'm really impressed on this receiver core, but what Romeo Doubs has just done. Okay. So Romeo Doubs has this meltdown, regrets it, says I made the wrong choice, and owned it. Okay. Got suspended, and then comes out and scores 2 touchdowns. And then last game, he was our best wide receiver. He had 8 receptions, which was a landslide compared to anyone else. And was it 94 yards or something like that?
Yeah.
But But that catch at the end that nobody's talking about to get us closer so McManus can hit the clutch winning field goal. I just have, like, I've already had respect for him, but it feels like it's going through the roof.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like it's a homer feel. Like, it's like, what did this guy just do in front of our eyes? And no, again, under the radar, no one's talking about it.
They're only talking about the negative, because that's what's going to get you the clicks, right? Romeo Doubs, though, has consistently been throughout his, he went through some drops year one. People were real questioning him last year. But when we saw Christian Watson in the game with Romeo Doubs last year, it was really an eye-opener, because he became somebody that was working the underneath so well when Christian was stretching the field. He was making big plays. Look what he did in Dallas. I mean, it was incredible, that game in the playoffs. I love what he's done from a rebounding perspective this year, because we don't know what's happening. They still haven't disclosed it. The assumption was he wasn't getting enough touches, and then they show the touches that he's gotten. You're like, well, why would he complain about that? Especially when you got 2 games with Malik Willis in it, and the game plan is predominantly running. Why would Romeo Doubs be having a gripe about his involvement when he's been out there more than Jaden Reed has? You can't knock a guy, though, for wanting the ball. You can knock him for leaving the team, but we still don't know what the issue is. And I'm not going to knock a guy who is going through whatever he's going through and coming back with the way that he does. Our team is great in embracing people that perform, and he came back and performed unbelievably. And thank God I was starting him on my fantasy team that week that he came back, because 2 touchdowns helped me a great deal.
I guess for us, when we look at our team and we answer this big question, and I know this is the question that I'm trying to get people to be diving into, but like, will the Green Bay Packers win the NFC North? The answer is we don't know. The answer is they could. They have the talent. I just think it's whoever's going to win the North is going to earn it. It's not going to be by fluke. It's not going to be like, oh, you had an easier schedule. It's going to be literally, we went out and we grabbed it by the bullhorns and we took it to the ground and we tackled it. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I'm feeling with this team. And I guess the question for me is like, just stop. I don't mind flying under the radar, but at least give us some respect.
Yeah. Well, I think we're going to earn that. I think we're going to earn that when we start playing head-to-heads, right? I mean, Minnesota losing to the Rams helps us right now, right? So now they have one more loss. But once you look at their records, and if we're tied at 12-5 and we win the head-to-heads and we win the divisional games, we're going to win the NFC North then, right? So we're in first place. I think it's greater than a 60% chance. The question is Detroit, though. That Detroit team,
they're good.
I just I have so much respect for what they do. It's just the question of how they're going to bounce back. Jameson Williams is he's a big part of their offense. He's not the detrimental part, though. Aiden Hutchinson not being in the game for the rest of the season. Do they make a trade? Like, if we see a Myles Garrett pop in to Detroit, then I'm going to be like, okay, now this is really formidable for us, and that could impact our chances. But I feel good about it. But we're going to fly under the radar till we get to the head-to-head matches.
And I guess you and I are just really okay with, I don't know, maybe you're more okay with it than I am, because I just want us to be really like, I don't know why do I need it? We don't need attention. We don't need it. But I don't know if it's I like it. I just like, hey, just don't forget about us. You know what I mean?
Well,
okay,
we'll try this. I'll leave you at this. Never ever underestimate the joy in having the last laugh. It's beautiful.
I just feel like I want to drop my mic right now. Okay. So we are going to talk about Robert for a moment, but I want to dive into this Jordan Love stuff, okay?
Yeah.
And you and I love Jordan Love. We're excited he's on our team. We excited about his future. We think the future's bright. But are you concerned about Love's accuracy issues And I put he's on there twice. I noticed that right there. He's tied for the most interceptions in the NFL, and he missed 2 games. So I know that he's also second. No, is he first? No, he's second in passing touchdowns, and he missed 2 games. But the flip side is he's tied for the most interceptions in the NFL, and he's missed 2 games. Tell me what you think about this, because it just seems like this is now the narrative on Jordan Love. And even one of our guys that came in here talked about this, and I just want to show it to you. It's not a hate, an honest take on Love. The biggest concern you should have with him is the kind of looks like Jordan almost always has after an interceptions and poor third down conversions. What's your kind of take on that?
My take is there's a couple layers on this, right? He's played 5 games, 8 interceptions. He's got a 4.5 interception ratio, right? He's got 15 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 1,351 yards. When I look at the other quarterbacks in our division, listen, everybody else is throwing interceptions as well. What did we feel about last year, though? How did you feel about being 2-5? I was still optimistic because I saw the good things that Jordan Love was doing. He missed 2 games this year, got injured, missed 2 games. And right now you just see him ramping up. I see him trying to do too much, right? But that's going to come, right? I mean, he's coming back from an injury. I feel like he sees the field well. He knows he has the arm talent to make the plays like he did to Tucker Kraft. I don't want to see that every week, but they're beautiful plays that he can make. And he knows that he has that talent because he's obviously doing it in the practice. But I'm not concerned right now. I'd be concerned if he had 8 interceptions and only 10 touchdowns, right? That would concern me more than what we're at right now with 15, 8, 4.5, interception percentage. His touchdown ratio is still higher than it is than Caleb, Sam, and Jared in the division. Interceptions are going to come down, and even if they don't, if he still stays at the percentage of touchdowns, and we're not losing games because of him, it's dependent upon where you throw the interceptions, right?
Yeah.
If we happen to have these returns that go down to the 11, and we're giving the opposing team the ball on the 11-yard 2 different times in a game, that's tough, right? That's tough to overcome. But are we winning the game? Are we up by 10 points, 12 points? He's trying to do it in the in our zone, in the red zone. Those are costly, but as long as the score on the scoreboard's a W at the end of the day, I'm not concerned right now.
Yeah. No, it's true. And Gallant here is just saying that's so good. I agree. That is just so good. I think I'm such a fantasy football guru as well. I always think about those things and the numbers and who's the number 1 wide receiver and all those things and the number 1 running back and the quarterback that's going to be the guy who's going to be the league winner and all that stuff. And I just keep thinking about Jordan, and it's it doesn't matter about his stats. It matters about the W. Mm-hmm. It matters about the W. And sometimes you're going to win ugly. For example, we've gotten so many turnovers as a defense. This week we get 0 turnovers as a defense. We turned the ball over 3 times. And we won the game. We had no turnovers. We never got any turnovers. Yeah. It's how did we? It's almost mathematically impossible to win a game where you have 3-0 for the turnover ratio. But here we are, and we win. And Jordan Love looks so much better than C.J. Stroud. And I'm not saying he is or isn't, but what I'm saying is 2 great young quarterbacks. Jordan Love looked better than him on Sunday.
Yeah.
And I keep saying the future's so bright. The future's so bright.
Yeah.
In Green Bay.
Well, with 86 yards, I mean, having a defense holding CJ Stroud. Listen, that's what was not talked about enough nationally. That's where I was actually, like you are, feeling a little frustrated about not getting credit. We held them to 86 yards. This was your next coming. This was your next rising star. The one that you guys have placed over Jordan Love, every week you guys are discussing pre-games. Every week CJ Stroud, he's the second coming, and Jordan Love makes some mistakes. They have not cost the team as much as people make it sound out to be.
Yeah, and I just feel like we know that everyone makes mistakes. Maybe the big thing for me as a Packers fan, and I don't know if everyone else around the league feels this way, but I don't think we're ever going to see another guy like Aaron Rodgers, who his touchdown to interception ratio was so massive. I actually said that when the switch was going on, like, you actually have to prepare yourself for interceptions.
Yes.
We're not used to watching interceptions, and remember the games where Rodgers would throw 2 or 3 and we're like, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
This is so weird. And he gets 7 on the year and he threw 3 in one game.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like, but normal quarterbacks, like, look at Josh Allen.
0.
He is the interception king.
Yeah. And 0 this year with no starting number 1 receiver.
Exactly. And it's just like, it doesn't make sense. And like, he's super talented, and no one's saying he's garbage. It feels like there's this negative narrative over Packers. It's like we're the Patriots and we just won 7 Super Bowls in the last how many years? And we've only won 1 since 2011. But they just poo-poo on us all the time. Yeah. And I think Jordan's in that thing. It's like, oh, see, he's not really that good, because they're mad because we got 3 in a row, 3 quarterbacks in a row now.
Yeah.
So they wanting us to fail, and that's fine. Go ahead, be a hater if you want. It drives our numbers up, so go for it. But man, I'm with you. I just see, when I'm looking at him, I'm like, wow, yeah, does he have some glaring problems? Absolutely. Who doesn't? Show me a quarterback who doesn't. Because if you're gonna bring up Patrick Mahomes to me, he's quarterback 22 in fantasy right now, bro.
Isn't that crazy?
22.
Selected number 1 in both my leagues. Not number 1 pick, but the number 1 quarterback. Yeah.
Wow. Not one of my leagues had him at number 1. Okay, so get this though. You must be in a 2 quarterback league.
No. He was the first quarterback taken, not the number 1 pick.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's wild. Because last year he was quarterback 8. The year before that, he was quarterback 1, I believe. So I get it. You're going to bounce. I thought he was going to bounce back. Okay. But nobody's talking about Patrick Mahomes like that. Mm-hmm. He's having a terrible year, and they're still winning because they're what? Are they 7-0 now? 6-0?
6-0.
Whatever they are.
Mm-hmm.
Man. Anyway, sorry. I feel like we can talk all night about this.
Yeah.
And you already gave props to Goff, right? Always had, like, here, newest subscriber here is saying Goff always had a knock for interceptions. A film study showed the year he had the most, 2019, I think, 25% of them tipped interceptions. Mm-hmm. Another 25% were Hail Marys, and 6 out of 14 were considered bad calls. So think about last year, San Francisco game. We got down. We were winning with a minute 20 left against the 49ers. They scored on us. And then all the pressure's on Jordan. You got to march down the field against this defense. And he throws a pick. And they're like, yep, see?
Yeah.
See, he's bad. No. And what else did you want him to do? He's got to try to make something happen. Right?
Yeah, he just tried to make it to the wrong guy. You don't throw across the field, but you understood where he was going, because you know that Christian Watson was the target there, and he's 2 steps from a touchdown. If that ball's 5, more yards in the air, but
yeah, I mean, and it's a great point, right?
That's football. I mean, look at Patrick Mahomes' interceptions. He's got 2 games with 2 interceptions, and an interception in every game this year. This guy is not what they make it, what Chris Collinsworth makes him out to be every time he's announcing this game. It drives me
Chris
nuts.
Collinsworth is weird because I do love his commentating, his entertainment value. But when it comes to the quarterbacks, it's like he's forcing it. Like the way he talked about Caleb.
Great point. Yep.
It's like, dude, he's terrible right now. Now, is he going to be good one day? Probably. Is it going to be this year? Probably. But right now, or like the Bajent kid, it's oh my goodness, he is the next coming of Brett Favre. It's like, no, you got to stop. Just give them credit when credit's due, not beforehand. Anyways, I think we can go all night on this.
Yeah.
Okay, let's before we get into the defense, and I don't want to keep you all night here, but I'm really enjoying my conversation with you.
Yeah, I'm having fun.
Talk to me about this, all the drama which is here. By the way, I have a buddy who his name's BPAC, and Billy is a great, huge Packers fan. He's been messaging me for 2 years that he's coming to Green Bay. He's like, he's got a tie to Matt LaFleur, and I'm like, bro, I would love that. In fact, I was hoping he'd be our defensive coordinator. Then Matt Halfley came. I'm like, okay, cool. He's got the full-time gig and the Jets. I was kind of sad about that. And he's like, he's coming. And here we are. Tell me, what do you think about this?
I love it. I love it. You know, when he went to the Jets, just because he a 49er defensive coordinator, doing what he had done to that defense, and of course they had Nick Bosa on that team and Armstead, just a really good set of players there. I mean, Fred Warner's the best linebacker in football, in my opinion.
So good.
But the way that he schemed them, I mean, that was top 10 defenses all the time. You know, when he went to the Jets, initially, the whole discussions were, well, how long is he going to last with the Jets?
Wow.
A year, 2 years? You know, is he going to be 2 and out? Well, he was there for 4 years. But when he got fired, I, as well as a bunch of other people out there that we know, were talking about Saleh coming in some capacity to the Packers. Now, the caveat to this is, because of his pedigree, because of the relationship with Matt LaFleur, being roommates at, you know, Central Michigan, Houston Texans ties, you know, 49er tree, all that connection they have, that he would be jumping into the defensive side of the ball. And what we saw from Halfley last week, we're seeing right now, Trevor, that evolution of the defense, because, you know, the first 3 weeks, people are going, what about all this blitz, let her rip, you know, blitzing that, you know, Halfley was, you know, kind of coined to do for his other defense and what he wanted to do for our Packers. We weren't seeing that. Well, we weren't seeing that because we're laying the foundation of the fundamentals of his scheme. And now game 4, game 5, we saw the glimpses throughout every one of those games. But right now, it's starting to seem like it's coming together. What we just did to C.J. Stroud in the Texans,
Crazy.
It was an unbelievable set of blitzes that he had. Rashawn Gary starting on the outside, in motion in the middle before snap, and then, you know, following Edrin Cooper up the middle. Eric Wilson's blitzes. Like, you saw these things starting to take shape. We don't even need to discuss, you know, the cornerback, the secondary at all. For Saleh to come in and Matt LaFleur say, no, he's going to work on the offensive side of the ball and pick out points where he would, as a defensive coordinator, looking at what Jordan Love's got the formation is, what the scheme is, what the players are doing, their tendencies, their leans, their calls. This is what I would be looking at, and this is what I would exploit, is genius. And I love that role for him. And when he says it's a fluid role, you know, he might be in, he just might be watching some tape. He might be on the field. I mean, he just got fired, you know, I understand, spend some time with your family, but for him to be able to look at what we're doing schematically on a week-to-week basis and looking at the other team and saying, this is their tendencies from a defensive perspective, and this is what they might key on as an accentuation to what we might not already know or might have hunches to know, to have a guy like Saleh say, this is what I would correct. It does nothing but make us better. Man, this is like the best little sprinkle on your ice cream you could ask on a hot Sunday afternoon, you know?
Yeah, that's so interesting. You know, I haven't thought about that enough. I have a question for you when it comes to this, because a lot of these coaches are buddies, right? And how much information do you actually give? Because you know one day you're going to be coaching against them, right? So if Robert's in the room, okay, and he's hearing the schemes and he's sharing his heart, and next thing you know, he goes and he gets offered a head coaching position or defensive coordinator position. He's like, I just need to do what's right for my family. And now you're going to be playing. I'm like, how much is he going to be saying, here, I'm going to tell you everything? Is there a part of the playbook you don't share with him? Like, how does that work? Because like McVay and LaFleur and wasn't it Shanahan were all together or something like that? It's like, they know what they like. How does that work? Do you know? Because I'm confused there.
Well, I think the beauty of it is it now that he lays out his cards, Now you have one on him as well. So sure, you're revealing parts of the offense that, you might not want to disclose to a future opposing coach. But right now, let's be honest, Saleh is not going to get another head coaching position. After what happened with the Jets, he's probably going to get a defensive coordinator position and then, prove himself again and then move up into that. Because I think the head coaching positions right now are pretty much a premium, and seeing the talent that he had on the defensive side of the ball and looking at the offense and saying, giving him a head coaching position. My point is, you're showing him on a week-to-week basis. You're not going to hold back what you want to do from your game planning perspective. You want him to look at all the crevices in the game plan to give your best feedback so that you can make corrections or adjustments where you can have that can play where that's going, all right, if they're doing this and you're seeing that lean, whatever, that's where the can comes from. Saleh can help that. But you also know what he's looking at as well. So he's revealing his cards to LaFleur just as much as LaFleur's revealing them to Saleh. So when you're going to play a guy that, even if he is a head coach, you're going to play him once a year, once every 4 years, outside of the playoffs if both teams make it. I don't think the gamble is too much to offset what the benefit is.
Yeah, and then how do you think? Okay, so they're saying, "Oh, this is all for the offense right now," but his specialty is the defense, right? And so if you're Jeff Hafley, how are you feeling about this? I mean, and they're not in the same conversation in the room, but it's like, dude, this could be my replacement.
Yeah, no, because Hafley is focused solely on the team that you're playing that week. You're putting your game plan together by watching rounds and rounds of tape, and you're putting your defense in practice up against that offense, your scout team. Saleh's only helping that scout team as well, right? Listen, Hafley is secure. So anyway, let me just go past my other dream, okay, of just having Saleh in the room. If Saleh wants to take a break for a couple of years, kind of regroup, we got a special teams coach right now that is one of the highest paid in the league, if not the highest paid in the league, who has done absolutely nothing for our special teams. Having a guy that's a coach like Robert Saleh with some special team, I would take him on the team as a special teams assistant to replace Bisaccia at the end of this year, because I think he's got to go. Anytime you can get quality coaches in your room that can actually do several functions for you, I don't know if Saleh would do it, but they're buddies, man. Best man in the wedding. I just think he is I think he is a benefit for the team in any capacity that he takes. And there's going to be an opening on that staff at some point, but I don't think it's defensively a defensive coordinator that's going to be ousted, because look at what Hafley's doing right now. Like, we feel right now, we have a mid-road defense right now statistically, and I've never been happier. I've been this happy in, I don't know, early Dom Capers years.
Yeah. I mean, it can be nothing but positive at this stage. Mm-hmm. All right, so we do want to dive into the defense, and I know that you saw this, but I've been just starting this new Packers News newspaper.
I love it. Great job on that.
Yeah,
I love that you got it on all the channels too. I saw it on Facebook. I saw it on Twitter.
Instagram. Yeah, I only put it, like, it's a little bit of a bigger graphic, so I can't, like, how like in an Instagram story, it can't fit in there, or like a post. So I can only do it on the spots where it's big. So, but I really like doing it. And I'm like, whenever I get inspired, I just make one, right?
Yeah.
And so the one that I just made today, or launched today, was this one. And it's the unsung hero. And if we go to the defense, okay, what blew me away about Sunday was not only the blitz packages and how we held CJ Stroud to 86 yards and no touchdowns, but this guy named Eric Wilson, who I've seen before, but he had his coming out party. So he has 2 tackles for loss, 3 quarterback pressures, and 2 sacks. Okay. I'm just sitting there going, again, nobody's talking about this. Like, is he going to get defensive player of the week? Like this is, are you kidding me? And he's behind Quay Walker, right? So and I'm like the hugest Edgerrin Cooper fan, but like he's outplayed Edgerrin Cooper already in that spot. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm sitting here, we've got him too.
Mm-hmm.
So I am like over the moon excited about our defense at so many levels. And I'm like, when's the last time I felt this way? It was when we had Clay Matthews.
Yes.
Going nuts.
Yeah.
And that whole defense was like, that was special.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is what we're starting to become again.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that way? Or is it just like, am I out to lunch here?
No, you're not out to lunch. The discussion after the first game, I had put some posts out on Twitter and gotten some pretty heated Twitter exchanges because, I love having my NFL Plus subscription for the reason that, you can get to watch the All 22. And, after watching that game, I was keying on Quay because there was not a Packer fan more excited to have a first round linebacker from a school like Georgia. I love it when we get Alabama and Georgia players because those are the big guns, right? And they never really pan out for us for some reason. But I was so excited for Quay Walker because we needed that next level. We had a defensive front. We had some secondary players. I mean, with Jair especially. But he has not panned out. And when we're playing Philadelphia, I'm seeing a guy miss holes. And I made the comment of he reminds me of Blake Martinez 2.0, where he's tackling guys 5 and 8 yards down the field versus stuffing the holes. He gets swallowed up by linemen. He's got too much to think about being a middle linebacker. I mean, he's athletic. He's tall. He's so fast. We saw in his first year covering sideline to sideline that you were like, this is what we're in year 3. It's going to just be a takeover of Quay Walker. And it hasn't happened. And unfortunately, we got to have him go out with a concussion to see a little more playtime for Cooper. And listen, McDuffie is just a really serviceable linebacker, but statistically, some missed tackles, we're not really know if he's a assignment sure. But from a blitzing perspective, we haven't seen Quay or McDuffie do what Eric Wilson did in one game, teamed up with Cooper. I mean, those two guys, and as well, we saw some life out of Rashawn finally, because that's $100 million guy. We haven't seen a whole lot of productivity out of this year. And Eric Wilson just seemed like he fit and knew the assignment. He fit with the pegs and knew what needed to be done, where to be. And that just that made me question everything about what we're doing right now at linebacker. And I don't know if that's what Hapley's thinking as well.
And you know what's wild? He gets the tackle on the 2-point conversion, and we win by 2.
Mm-hmm.
Again, another thing no one's talking about, and it's like those little things, which was a big thing at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
It's a game winner. I mean, obviously McManus clutching it up, cool. That's a cool story. Our punter story is amazing, but
stud.
But in saying that, one of my favorite storyline for our defense is McKinney and Williams right now. It showed us so much why we were missing what we were missing at the safety level. And I'm like, we have 2 safeties now, not 1. Now we drafted 3 safeties too. Yeah. Right. So someone's going to pan out here. Right. Or maybe they throw them into this package here and this thing. But man, I mean, taking your opportunity, and then McKinney with the big gun coming in and then having all the interceptions. I'm just sitting here going, everyone wants to talk about the Minnesota defense, and they should.
Yeah.
And everyone wants to talk about how tough it is to play against Detroit, and they should. And everyone wants to talk the Bears as the best secondary. And I'm not sure if you can, but they are. Everyone's saying, like, lots of Bears sounds like we have the best secondary. And I'm like, looking, I'm going, wait a minute. Like, I don't think you guys realize what's happening over here.
Mm-hmm. No, they don't. No.
And it's going to, like, they have set this. They want the Bears to be good. And I don't think that they ever want to rig. Like, I don't know. I don't believe in rigging it and the refs have it out for you. But the schedule, we played them week 1 and smoked them. And they're like, we can't have that happen again. So now we're week 11.
Yeah.
Okay. We're week 11. He's going to have lots of time on his hand. But I'm telling you, Caleb, this defense is better than you think.
Yeah.
And I think you have a good defense. Don't get me wrong. You're playing against some good guys. But I'm telling you, when Minnesota comes to town and when Green Bay comes down and when Detroit comes to town, it's a different story.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just sitting there going, man, this defense makes me so pumped, especially after last week.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what we were missing from our secondary for me was we had the interceptions, right? I love what McKinney's done back there. The cornerback, I'm such a big Valentine fan, being a 7th rounder out of Kentucky. I love that story. Again, underdog, last laugh, all that great stuff. His injury has impacted us in a way I didn't think it was going to, because I thought Stokes was going to be a lot better than he has been this year. First round pick, we thought Stokes was going to be the greatest tandem for Jair after year one. And it hasn't panned out with his injury and everything else. And I don't know what's going on this year. So what we're missing, though, for me was a brisker for Chicago, a safety that came up and hit people. Bullard, he got all the reps in preseason in the first few games, teamed up there with McKinney. But Evan Williams is turning out to be exactly what we needed. He is, the guy who is the Jaquan Brisker of our secondary, who can tackle, is just plays fast, is not afraid to hit a running back, is not afraid to hit a receiver coming over, and is just, for a rookie, is pretty damn smart. Everybody's talking about his PFF grades or whatever his grades are. They're great, but he's come in right now and he's been the where did that come from kind of guy. Like, everybody thought it was Bullard, and this guy's just come on and changed the whole attitude of it. And I think with his addition, Bullard then being able to move over and cover some slot a little bit right now, because I don't know about you, Trev, I just have never been sold on Keyshawn Nixon as our slot corner. I love him as a kick returner. I love him as a backup. I don't love him as an $18 million guy. I just that was one that just never fit for me. So, but I love what we're doing right now. It's an exciting time to be a
don't you
fan
feel
of
like
defense.
Keyshawn, though? There's something special about him where he's going to make the right play at the right time. Like, for example, it was against Kansas City and he went and got that pick. And then there's some moments where, like, even in the games, he gets that tackle at the right moment. And like, I don't know, I'm with you. I'm like, I think we spent way too much money on a potential kick returner that nobody returns kicks anymore, and they just like punt it through the back. But like, I just sit there and going, there's something about him. Like, why did the Packers spend that much money? What do they see about him that I don't see yet?
Again, I bring that back to probably what Rich Bisaccia was doing in the coaches meeting with him, then saying how valuable he was for the team. I just, what you're saying is exactly right. He's made key plays at key times where you think he's going to do this next week. And he falls off and misses so many tackles and misses assignments. And most of the receiving yards on our secondary are through Keyshawn Johnson.
Okay.
You're going to see number 25 covering the receiver that's making the big plays. Sure, he's going to have those interceptions. He's also going to drop some interceptions, but he's going to make some plays. I just, at this point in my time viewing Keyshawn Johnson, I'd rather you be an injury backup versus a starter out there. I'd rather have one of these younger guys come out there and develop and see what they can do, because I know what you can do, and it hasn't gotten much better over the last 4 years. So that's my take on it. Not knocking him, because listen, he's a Packer. I love the Packers. I'm excited about our defense beyond belief, and it's probably a little nitpicky, probably like I was with Quay Walker on the first game and the second game and the third game. But right now, I don't know. It just seems like a little change of personnel sometimes maybe gives those players a little time to regroup and refocus and come back and make some special plays.
Yeah. So the last minute we got together here or so, Jair, we all know he's dynamic, but what's crazy is he's a menace. And there's nothing worse than a guy who trash talks and can back it up. Right? So I feel like he's Gary Payton off the Seattle Supersonics.
He's the glove, baby. Yeah.
He's the glove, man. Like, he goes in and he starts it, and he's the little guy, and and then the guy misses it, and he's right up in your face. And I'm not a huge I don't like trash talk a lot, to be honest with you.
Uh-huh.
But it's like hard not to like laugh. And
Yeah.
it's hard not to be like, oh man. And then it's like, dude, please don't get burned now. Please don't be the guy who screws this up. And it's
Yeah.
like, but he's so talented and he can back it up. And it's just, you're just watching him. And I'm like, man, they owned Diggs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what did he get? 24 yards on 5 receptions?
28, something like that. Yeah, it was nothing. Here's what I love about Jair. When he does his interviews and just that smile that he's got that shit-eating grin that he has when he's talking. Now just put a helmet over him and imagine him on the field just talking that same way. It would drive me nuts if I thought I was a big, stud receiver and you're talking this smack to me, because Jair can get under your skin. It's just kind of always yapping it, but I find him hilarious because he can back it up. Trev, that's the important thing that you just said. You hate to see those cocky players. I don't want to see those cocky players on Green Bay. I don't want to see the guy who makes a tackle in the secondary and every time is demonstrative and does all these things. I don't want to see the receiver that gets, a first down and is like making a big celebration about me. I like the Romeo Dobbs, hand the ball off, get back in there, play football. But when you got a guy like Jair who can back up everything from Justin Jefferson to Diggs to everybody else in between, man, it's special. It's a special time.
Awesome. Well, there's a question here that I would love to get your thoughts on. It says, you guys obviously watch a lot of football. That's an understatement. I probably waste too much of my life watching it. But anyways, have you noticed that the subtle shift to linebacker scheming by defenses this year, especially in the NFC, a lot less blitzing of edges, using more linebacker-centric play? Have you noticed that?
Because there are so many good linebackers right now in the NFL, there's a lot of so they've taken. So you remember with the transition from the 260 pound linebackers turned into the 235, 240 pound linebackers.
Yep.
They were finding out there wasn't a whole lot of run stopping abilities for them, which right now, when you're talking about the right and left tackle in the NFL, like the Packers, they always draft left tackles that can play right tackle. Those universal linemen, they're really good right now in the NFL. So those inside middle blitzes, the guards and the centers are right now, they're the least paid on the offensive line for a reason, because they're the ones that are more prevalent out there to pick up on the. They're not drafted high. They're available undrafted free agents, and those are the biggest schemes, because right now the tackles that are in the NFL, you're not going to want to waste your time going against Trent Williams, all day. You're not going to want to waste your time going against, Zach Tom and Rasheed Walker right now. I mean, the guys aren't giving up sacks. So, yeah, you have to scheme your linebackers for those packages coming up the middle more, for sure, especially with the athleticism that they got and the speed they got at linebacker right now. So, good question.
Yeah, that is a good question. And then Hank comes in and says, I'd love to see all 4 North teams in the playoffs. Tons of good, young, exciting players getting better and better. I'm glad that you feel that way. I just being a Bears hater, I just don't. I think there's going to be 3 teams that are going to make it. I don't think the Bears are going to be that. And to be honest, the Bears will be insufferable if they make the playoffs. but they can earn it. They can do it. It's pretty special right now. I just think the bloodbath between the division, it's going to really kind of push some of those. Like if the Bears or even the Packers or the Vikings or the or the Lions, if you lose a couple of more of those divisional games, it might knock you out of the playoff race, depending on how it goes. So I don't know. I think there'll be 3 out of 4. That's what I predicted before. Now I thought Minnesota's going to be terrible. I predicted that Minnesota was going 1-7, and because I didn't believe in Sam Darnold. And everybody has been wrong about the Minnesota Vikings, but I was very bold of how bad they were going to be, and I was completely wrong. So now I'm a believer in Minnesota. But man, them losing 2 in a row, that's crazy.
Yeah. Well, you know what? They needed to come back down to earth a little bit, because Sam Darnold is a good quarterback. He's not a great quarterback, but he also has made some really good plays, and he has some receivers right now. Outside of Jefferson, there's some big drops in tonight's game against the Rams that would have changed, the trajectory of that score for sure. But yeah, 3 teams are going to the playoffs from the NFC North. And if 4 teams went, it would be a lot of fun. I think one day it could happen in the next couple of years, because I'm with you. I'm discounting the Bears right now just because of the way that we're going to eat each other in those from week 11 to 18.
But so if 4 teams make it, if the one seed is from the NFC North, then they won't play one of the NFC North teams, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there could be an NFC North wild card game depending on record, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But there'll be 3 of us that don't play. Like this is wild to think about, because if I got it right, it's going to be 3. How could it work if there was all 4 of us that made it?
Well, because you're gonna have just the winners in the other divisions, right? The other 3 winners,
And they're all playing NFC North guys.
and everybody else, and it's going to be the NFC North. If that happened,
Wouldn't that be cool?
Oh, it would be so cool to see, because we've gone through those years where you've had Seattle and San Francisco, and whether it's the Rams. I mean, you've had 3 teams from those divisions, and you're like, man, I hate those divisions. But the NFC right now is in a flux, Trev. Like the NFC there's a lot of parity between the NFC. Like the Titans of old, especially with the injuries that have happened in San Francisco right now. Dallas, look at what they're doing right now. There's a lot of teams that are kind of in that mediocre, and right now, 12 wins is a lot of wins, and we're gonna have 3 teams in the NFC North with those.
Yeah. The last question for tonight is: can the Lions still beat the Packers without J-Mo? The answer is yes. They can. Will they? I'm not sure. I think J-Mo's good. I just don't think he's as good as everyone's he's getting a lot of hype.
Because what he does is what Christian Watson does for the Packers.
Yeah.
Right? Huge explosive plays that change the field position, right? Big points that he can put up, but he also opens up that underneath, especially for a guy like Amon St. Brown, who lives underneath in the slot, out of the slot in the first 10 yards, and makes big runs after the catch. He needs a guy like Jameson to stretch that field out and bring that safety deep. So it'll impact him, but
yeah, I just think, like, for me, it's interesting, the whole J-Mo talk. I like him. I think he's talented. Don't get me wrong, but I think it's the better question is: can the Lions still beat the Packers without Aiden Hutchinson?
Mm-hmm.
That's the real question.
Yeah,
they can fill the spot of J-Mo somehow. They can have different scheming, but it's the Aiden Hutchinson piece that's really hard. And they beat the Vikings without Aiden, so they can beat a lot of teams. So. Yeah. Anyways, so thank you so much for being on here. Like, what a treat. I've had a lot of guests on this year, but can I just say, like, definitely one of the best conversations that I've had, and I just really enjoyed it tonight.
Yeah.
Really,
I think we just ripped off like an hour and 15 minutes, like it was 5 minutes. Listen, here's what I want to say to you. Rev Trev is becoming a brand that is recognizable on all social platforms. You're so damn positive that is what I love about you. You're fun, you're engaging, you ask fun questions, you keep it fresh every show. And for anybody that needs some kind of new avenue to check out, I am pushing them your way for sure, because I love how you are a representative of the Green Bay Packers, but you go on to other shows, you go on to places like NFL Outdated with our bitter rival Andy, and you come up with great things. You put him in his place. You represent everything about Green Bay and being a fan in such a great way that I felt honored that you even extended an invite for me tonight. So I appreciate everything you've done, and the invite as well.
Feelings mutual, my friend. That's great. And
fun combo.
Just honored to have you on here. What a fun night. And I just want to encourage everyone, please give him a follow on all the social media. Great content, great guy. And we love watching our team. And I feel like we have a pretty good bead on the other teams. We're not just solely focused on the Packers. We look at it with not rose-colored glasses, but just like, wow, like I can appreciate other teams being good. I just hate losing, and I love winning. So, anyways,
100%.
yeah.
Awesome,
So,
man.
thanks so much. Normally I have this really long outro, and it's really cool. I feel like I need to revamp it, but I like it. It's got really cool sounds and stuff. But tonight I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to give a shout out to everyone that was here tonight. Thank you so much. All of you that are going to watch later, please post a comment, because I love responding to the conversation. Keep it going, and connect with us on social media, because we love talking to fans about it. So
awesome.
So we're just going to call it a night. And of course, always go Pack Go.